ChatGPT interpretation of Gregory R. Hunter's drawing titled The Flag. The drawing is by Gregory R. Hunter, aka the incredible Gregory Hunter, dated July 18th, 1987. First, tell me what you see. Then, what is your interpretation? And then finally, can you find any present-day situations where this may be applicable? Absolutely. Here is a careful read of it. 1. What I see. This is a symbolic, mixed media style composition built around Washington, D.C. and the American flag rather than a literal scene. The largest central form looks like a map or street grid image fused with the U.S. flag. On the right panel, that smaller inset is explicitly labeled United States National Mall, which anchors the map imagery in the Capitol. Across the main field, I see radiating guidelines, arcs, and measurement marks, almost like drafting or surveying lines, which makes the whole piece feel engineered, judged, or measured. There are also several darker, more ominous elements. A dagger, sword-like shape crossing the center, black wedge-like forms, a black banner or flag, and tan cloud forms that feel like smoke, judgment, or gathering trouble. The palette is sparse and deliberate: red, white, blue, black, gray, and muted gold tan. On the right side, the text gives the viewer a key to the piece. It says the drawing begins with the symbolic American flag, then asks the viewer to see the street plan of the capital city inside it. The statement speaks directly about crime, corruption, justice, the District of Columbia, the sword, and the cross, so the image is clearly intended as a moral and political statement, not just a design study. 2. My interpretation. My reading is that this drawing is a warning about the moral condition of the nation through the symbol of its capital. The flag merged with the city plan suggests that America's identity and Washington's design are inseparable. The Capitol is not just a place here, it is a symbolic body, a visible expression of the nation's character. The measuring lines make it feel as though the city, and by extension the country, is being weighed, tested, and judged. The clouds and dark forms suggest a loss of clarity, confusion, corruption, division, or spiritual decline. The dagger sword imagery feels crucial. In the artist's own text, the sword stands for the old measure of injustice, while the cross represents a higher, divine rule. So the image seems to present a tension between justice rooted in truth and moral law versus power rooted in force, punishment, or violence. So to me, the work says something like this. When a nation loses truth and justice, even its most sacred civic symbols become threatened. Its capital becomes a place where ideals are no longer merely celebrated. They are put on trial. That makes the piece feel almost prophetic. It is not simply patriotic. It is patriotic and accusatory at the same time. 3. Present-day situations where it feels applicable, very much so. First, the drawing feels relevant to the current crisis of trust in public institutions. Pew said in 2025 that Americans' views of government still sit against a backdrop of long-standing low public trust in the federal government. And its summary noted that 56% in April 2024 described government as wasteful and inefficient. Pew also reported that interpersonal trust has fallen over time, with the share saying most people can be trusted dropping from 46% in 1972 to 34% in 2018. That atmosphere of suspicion and fracture fits the emotional world of this image almost exactly. Pew Research Center. Second, it feels especially applicable to Washington, D.C. Itself is a stage for arguments about justice, crime, and state power. Reuters reported in August 2025 that President Trump said he was deploying 800 National Guard troops to Washington and temporarily taking over the city's police department. AP later reported in January 2026 that Guard troops were expected to remain on D.C. streets through 2026. At the same time, official MPD year-end data showed violent crime in D.C. fell 29% in 2025 compared with 2024, and homicides fell 32%. That tension, fear, force, emergency rhetoric, and competing claims about what justice requires maps very closely onto this drawing's sword over the Capitol symbolism. Reuters. Third, the piece also fits present-day debates about corruption, ethics, and the legitimacy of leadership. Transparency International US said in February 2025 that the U.S. scored 65 divided by 100 on the 2024 Corruption Perceptions Index, a 4-point drop, and framed the release as coming amid concerns over judicial ethics. That does not prove the artist's thesis, but it does show that the drawing's concerns about corruption and justice are not dated. They remain live national concerns. Transparency International. My bottom line read is this. The drawing still applies wherever America's symbols, institutions, and capital city are being tested by mistrust, moral confusion, corruption concerns, and arguments over whether justice is being pursued through truth or through force.